thing to do when you're traveling, isn't it? Yeah.
Rich people. Contrast. Okay,
It's just a
thank
back
you.
section.
Okay. $17.91, 18.11, 17.80. Museum of the Moon.
was just too close to it.
No, that's quite all right. All right,
I'm not prepared, but yeah, in my life.
Everybody's looking at the moon. Nobody. Extraordinary building, which is amazing. There is a crypt there.